will see and they will appreciate what is happening.
Okay, Mungatana, 30 days in, are we heading in the right direction?
Yes. I want to pick it up from Mheshimiwa Kakushia's place. You know, subsidies in themselves are good. In fact, even in Europe, in America, they subsidize a lot to support their economies. But government subsidies on the consumption side are not sustainable. They are not sustainable. I've just come from Malawi. You know, I'm also a commissioner for COMESA Competition Commission. And we go there, we decide cases on the trade disputes that are there. And we are doing, actually now, we were doing the CAF case on rights to the business around soccer. So when I went there, I saw trails and trails of motor vehicles parked, and all of them heading to petrol stations. And I asked, what's the problem? Now, the problem is the same that where we were heading as Kenyans, that the government promises a subsidy. Then the government cannot afford that subsidy to the petroleum dealers. And then they withhold the product. And then the people suffer. President Ruto's decision to say that we shall not go on with that subsidy was well informed in economics. And he also said, we are going to do supply economics. We are going to subsidize the supply side. By doing what? Let us help the farmers who are producing by subsidizing the cost of fertilizer. And then when we subsidize this cost, the cost of production becomes cheaper. But who is benefiting? It is the farmer direct. But when we do consumption subsidies, they are not effective and unaffordable at the end of the day. So I support the president's approach on this one. And it may be painful for a while, but even when we are treating a wound, sometimes it causes a bit of discomfort. Now, on the issue of the Honorable Raila Odinga going to visit the people and so on, he has, like my learned friend said, his constitutional right, and it's within his right. But I wanted us to look at this thing from a higher perspective. And I think there's an office when we were creating the constitution that we missed. We created the leader of majority, the leader of minority, and all the other constitutional offices within parliament. But we didn't create the leader of opposition. What I would expect a person of his stature is to come with an alternative proposal, put it formally before government through the normal machinery in parliament, so that we can debate and we can agree or disagree. Maybe we pick some of these ideas or we whatever, but at the end of it, let us have a formal way of dealing with things. When we have leaders going on these missions meeting and then they become very political, very heated, what happens is you become disruptive. And then the processes of creating real solutions are not achieved. And so for me, I think a loser in a presidential election, the one who becomes number two, let me not call them a loser, the runners-up in a presidential contest should be facilitated by government to carry out the opposition role. Why I say this is because right now, the leader of minority in parliament, in National Assembly, and in the Senate, they do not have the stature to tell President Ruto, no, this is what you're doing is not right, this is what you're doing is not right. They don't have that stature to balance pronouncements from State House. They are just MPs who have been elected, and then they were elected again by their parties. So I really think that going forward, in future, either by an act of parliament or whatever way we will fashion it, let us create. By the way, I'm writing my PhD, my doctorate. I'm writing something around the opposition leadership. I think it is important so that any country can balance up government so that issues can go, we are held into account. But then it's like the issue of governors. You know, governors, again, they cannot be held account by the leader of minority or majority in the county assembly. What we need is the second runners-up to be facilitated, to have the gravitas to call for alternative government policies in a formal way. And this is the way we will push counties forward. It is the way we will push the national government forward. Because I believe that that is the role that Baba should play. But then when you go, and people cheer you, you go home, it doesn't add up. It doesn't help us as a country.
There's a lot of feedback coming through. I would like to read some of them and give you a chance for closing remarks really briefly, because we ran out of time completely here. Let's see what you're saying at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's read that and then give 30 seconds closing remarks each. Moja says, fantastic discussion. I watched Honorable Mkatana speak sense about Kilifi Iron Lady Aisha Jumwa as a gem, with all her being a career politician. Good luck to her in her new job as a CS if she sails through. Okay. Let's see what else. Njogu says Article 132(4)A is very clear. The office should be established under recommendation from PAC, and PAC in its act have to follow principles and values of a constitution. This post is so unconstitutional. That's in reference to the CAS position. Engineer Lazaro says, will of justice and the entire judiciary should be free from the state remote control for a developing nation to prosper. I believe that's what you wanted to say. The current trend might taint image of the nation internationally and locally. Okay? Magua says, the government cries that there is no money, but they are increasing the number of PS and want to add another CAS position just to accommodate their incompetent loyalties. What is the government trying to hide? Okay. Isaac Mudusi says, President Ruto is an intelligent man. He will definitely use technocrats and economists as CASs and PSs. Then his loyalists and other politicians will be given CAS and CEO positions. Okay. Sawe says, Kenya Kwanza government is doing exactly the opposite from what they promised. Says one thing and does the opposite. Most of the nominees for CS have integrity issues. They will be cleared. You have seen some cases dropped. Is Chapter 6 even, does it even mean anything to them? Okay. Remy Butia says, Kenya continues to carve out a distinct place in the community of nations, but tough choices have to be made in order to arrive at the destination. Kenya is at a crossroads, a moment of economic hardship, but also enormous promise. There are quite a number of them here. Tanas Mavuti says, the president said he respects the rule of law. I think he should start with abolishing the position of CAS since it was declared unconstitutional by the court. He also said he wants to cut down government expenditure. He should start by abolishing this position. Kipto Ruto says it is true that we are suffering, but with what William Ruto is doing, we can see light at the end of the tunnel. The 30 days he has been in office, we have seen a lot of changes. All right. All right, Kagusha, closing remarks, 30 seconds.
Thank you. It's true Kenyans have a difficult time surviving these hard economic times. These hard economic times have not been created by His Excellency Ruto and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua. These are hard times that we have found there, and the government is truly working very hard to ensure that Kenyans are given an easier time by improving the economy. I want to, for example, point out that the government has done very well by ensuring that the Fuliza charges have come down with more than 50%. That has a direct benefit to the Mama Bogas and also to the hustlers that Honorable Sifuna promises to be representing going forward. He has, for example, also brought down the cost of fertilizer by half. And that has helped a lot in alleviating the challenges that farmers have been going through, and that will help us in production. Okay. Again, the president has gone out of his way to visit East African countries to see whether we can be able to increase our market for our goods from Kenya. Okay. And that, I think, again, is going to be something good for our farmers as we create that market. You saw him already exporting finished product in tea to Ghana. Again, that is a very, very important point. And I also want to congratulate His Excellency the President for the speech he made in New York, in Unga. And he came out really as a true African statesman. He came out as a Pan-Africanist. Yeah. And I really want to ask Kenyans to revisit that speech, and even African leaders, and ensure that we claim our position at the international level so that we are not ignored, and we go so much even for the revamping of the Security Council, which now we are members, although not permanent members. Yeah, so we have a broader perspective here, and there's hope There's one person here who has said that there's enormous hope and promise for Kenya where we stand today.
All right. Sifuna?
First of all, let me say that competence is not a matter of sentiment. It doesn't matter how much you like me. I don't see how 30 years spent as a cassava farmer prepares me to be Minister of Mining. Number two, we wanted to see the prioritization of the people's suffering, problems of the people. Instead of, they have argued very strongly against subsidies, but they are subsidizing criminal cases against their friends. That is what they have prioritized. I wish the president moved with speed to free us and free the ordinary Kenyan from the pangs of hunger because of the high cost of food, with the same speed that he has moved to free Kina Linturi and his other allies from these criminal cases. Number three, we have proposed alternatives, my brother Mungatana, and you know it even when we were debating the president's speech in the House. We, from Azimio side, see a very different way of achieving food security in this country. We have spoken directly to the farmers, and I remember that meeting we had in Eldoret with the farmers themselves, that in fact the biggest problem is that they have been dissuaded and discouraged from continuing to plant crop, especially maize, because of corruption cartels within the NCPB, that they produce maize and the maize rots in their stores because there are senior people in government who deliver maize that they have imported from other places, and because of his commercial links, maybe he can tell us where this maize comes from. That is the problem, Mheshimiwa Mungatana. We want to move away from rain-fed agriculture because climate change has made it so unpredictable. We want you as a senator for Tana River, to push this government to revive those irrigation projects that were going on. And they all stalled because of one problem, and the problem is corruption, which, our friends in Kenya Kwanza don't want to talk about. Lastly, there is no need for stature when you're giving ideas. You remember the famous adage of the child telling the king is naked. All these senior people who you say have stature might not be, in a position to tell the king that he's naked. Ideas can come from anywhere. So that if an idea is good, and this is the paradox, because you people told us that you're going to form a government from Wananchi, that you're going to listen to the Mamambogas and the Boda Boda. What standing, if you are saying that a leader of minority or majority does not have the stature to tell William Ruto that he has taken a wrong path, what chance does the Boda Boda person or the Mamamboga have to actually affect government policy? No wonder, during that presidential debate, immediately that Mamamboga was done with the photo op, she was shoved aside. What we need is a government that is open to ideas from anywhere. If an idea is good, it doesn't matter the person proposing it. And we're saying, when we take a wrong direction, we all head in that wrong direction, Mheshimiwa Mungatana.
You're right.
So let us open this space. Let us allow people to be able to ventilate, give ideas. Because unfortunately, and this is not something that Africans like to discuss, all of us have an expiry date. So that when you outsource the defense of the Constitution or the origination of ideas to one person, say Sifuna, what happens to the country when I expire?
Okay. Mungatana, closing remarks.
Well, the country is facing a difficult time.
Yeah.
It is true. And we need a president like President Ruto. When the Depression came to America, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, what he helped do was to create hope for the people and continued conversation as legislative and policy measures combined came through to create what was called the New Deal. So what I'm thinking should happen more, is that I know the president is working on many things, and I know the results will be rolling in soon. But we need maybe more conversation. Our president is very good at talking with people. What we need is for him, there used to be what was called the fireside discussion. Those days in America, there was no television. So the president people would gather around the fireside to listen to the president on their radios as he told them his plans. And for us in the legislature, our business is to support the actions that the president is doing. To support so that we can get out of this economic rut And as far as I'm concerned, the opposition can play its role. But for us, we have the greater mandate of supporting this administration to make sure it delivers on its promises. Okay. And the team leader in this case is the president, who, you know, nobody will listen to Mungatana, you know, because I'm just senator for Tana River. Yeah. But people will listen to Ruto more if he says we are going to have radio address every Friday, so that I tell you where we are going. Yeah. We don't need to wait until he comes to the annual address in Parliament. I think our president is very good. Okay. He can talk to his people, his voters. Yeah. Those voters, just part of them were in Tana River, but he had the whole country. Okay. He engages them until we pass through these difficulties. Okay. And then he should take questions, you know, so that he can get the feedback. I believe if we support this president, this president, like Kagusha said, they wake up early with the deputy. They are in the office. They are actually committed to doing something about this country. All right. I think we didn't make a wrong choice. We are headed in the right direction. You asked me where we are headed. Yeah. I think we are headed in the right direction. All right. If we give the administration the necessary support. All right. Honorable Anson Mungatana, Senator.
I also saw Ruto in Komarok on top of a vehicle. Yeah. I don't know why you didn't ask them if he has started campaigns for 2027.
But they're here to answer.
No, he was at work.
Why was it?
He went to open a school. That
they all agreed that
was purely funded by
sunroof.
He went to open a school built by...
Gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Honorable Anson Mungatana, Senator Tana River, Honorable Edwin Sifuna, Nairobi Senator, and Honorable John Kagusha, Member of Parliament from Kurueni. That is State of the Nation. Coming up next is Cooking Tips with Chef Akinyi. All right, bye for now.